Hey everybody, welcome to another video. This is episode number 4 in my little mini series, what I like to call fixing stuff just for the hell of it. So I bought 15 motherboards off eBay. They were all PlayStation 5 motherboards and I paid a total of £900 for them. And yes, I know that's a lot of money. It's an awful lot of money. But the main reason I bought them was because I sell parts off the PlayStation 5 motherboards as well as other motherboards, as well as some new parts as well on my online store. So what I'll do is I'll take a motherboard that is considered dead and I'll strip it down, I'll take all of the good parts and I'll sell them on the store. And that allows me to, number one, make some money, and number two, it allows me to put parts out there which you wouldn't normally be able to buy. Stuff like the SSD controller for the PlayStation 5, the SSD chips themselves, the HDMI encoder and the South Bridge, they're pretty hard to come by. And some of the chips on the board as well you can't buy. So by stripping them down, it allows me to put parts out there into the wild. But I thought to myself, well, you know, I've got the motherboards here. I'm going to be stripping them anyway. Where's the harm in trying to fix them just for the sake of knowledge and just to have a little bit of fun? So that's what I'm doing in this series. I've already worked on 3 motherboards. I won't spoil those. But if you do want to check those out, these are all in a playlist. So yeah, definitely check them out if you want to see the entire series. Highly recommend it. Yeah, nothing really more to say on that. But if you are new to the channel and you like this type of content, please consider subscribing and turning on the bell notifications. I'll get my words out in a minute. That way you don't miss any future videos. And if you do want to organise a repair, you can check me out at consolefix.co.uk and you can book in a repair or get in touch if you've got a question about a repair. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Today's video is sponsored by PCBWay. Whether you're starting a small project to keep yourself busy or you're looking to launch a brand new product into the world, PCBWay have got you covered. Your project can go from idea to reality with services including PCB prototyping, BOM management, mass production and even CNC or 3D printing your final product. PCB production starts from just $5 for 10 1 to 2 layer boards, with professional PCB assembly starting at as little as just $30. Check out the link in the video description to learn more. Now let's get back to fixing this PlayStation 5. Right we are, so like I said, I've already worked on 3 of these motherboards. This is number 4. I'm not picking these in any kind of order or anything like that. I'm purely just selecting them from the top of the pile. So I don't know what's wrong with this, or I'm going to need to give it a visual inspection, check a couple of things over, and then I'll give it a test to see what the symptoms are in terms of, you know, what's actually wrong with this board. So again, this is another disc edition board. The reason that I'm stripping these down is, like I said, number one, I want to put parts out there into the wild, not only to make money but to allow people to actually buy the parts. But number two is that they are all disc edition PlayStation 5 boards and they don't come with the daughter boards. They're sold strictly as donor parts. So for that reason, obviously I'll strip them down and I'll sell the parts off them. But yeah, it's all a learning curve at the end of the day, and the more of these I work on, the more knowledge I get on the actual boards themselves, and obviously that helps me to progress and get better over time, because none of us know everything, right? And I do have a little motto to live by, and that is, the moment you think you know everything is the moment you stop learning anything. And that is a motto that I live by every single day. You don't know everything. No one knows everything. We're not magicians. We're just technicians. So I'll stop with the inspirational quotes. I'm going to get some parts together and we're going to test this board to see what's going on with it. So here I have a power board, an LED bar, etc, etc. I've got a power supply. That's a known good power supply. And I've also got a heatsink here. And if you watched the last video, you'll know that this was the last board that I worked on. So this was board number 3. I'm not going to tell people what's happened in these. You know, if you want to know what's actually happened with all the boards, you're going to have to watch the videos, because got to get that YouTube money, you know. But yeah, I'm going to take this one back apart and I'm going to use the heatsink, the clamp, etc, just to be able to test it. So I should have really prepared this before I started the video, but never mind. We can't always go through life being prepared. So we'll get that board, we'll put that one to one side. There we go. And now we're ready to see what's going on. So I'm going to move that back out of the way. And same with the power supply. And same with the front panel. And in fact, like I said in the last video, I should really take these off and just use them as the board to cut down on the bulk, because that will make it a little bit easier to manage. So I'm just going to take all these screws out, and come on, Mr. Boardy. Pop. There we go. So that's a front panel, or USB panel rather, and here's a power board. So now I can just pop these into a bag when I'm done with them and just basically use them as test parts. But what I need to do, first of all, this needs a battery. Well, it doesn't need a battery, but I'm going to put one in anyway. So I'll take the battery out of the PS5 that I've recently worked on. That was a couple of days ago. Now it's been a couple of days since I've managed to get to these. But it's also looking like we're missing a speaker here. Not really bothered about the speaker, to be honest. I'm not going to worry about that because I don't really want to damage this connector here, because these you cannot buy. So this is the disk drive connector. I don't want to damage that connector, and the speaker's right next to it. So I'm not going to risk damaging that connector just to fix the speaker so as we can test the thing. It's not worth it. So this is an EDM 020 board. I'm just going to give it a quick visual inspection and just see if any of the major components are missing. I don't think they are. I haven't noticed any missing off the top of my head. Yep, looks good to me. So I think we are probably just good to start testing this. So I've got a power supply there. Like I said, that's a non-working power supply. And I'll pop that there. And then I'm just going to pop the board on top, plug it in. And then, like I said, I've got my test parts. I don't really need that. I just may as well take it off that front panel anyway. Whoopsie. So there is a power button, and here's an LED bar. Okay, and let's plug it in. Okay, that appears to be 2 seconds and then off. Alright, okay, 2 seconds and then off. So a 2 second then off is a fairly common fault on the PS5, and it can be a number of things, to be honest. It can be you know, something like spilt liquid metal. It can be something to do with the SSD controller, bad RAM. It can be a short somewhere. Yeah, it can be pretty much anything. So that's just third time lucky. Nope. Okay. So I'm going to set my multimeter up here, and I'm going to try and get some test voltages, see if we're missing any voltage rails. So just off the top of my head, I know roughly what I'm supposed to get in certain places. So we get 5 volts there, we get 3.3 there, we get 5 volts there, get 1.8 volts there, get 5 there, we get 2 there. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp my ground so as I can use my other hand. So let's see, just here. Ow, that hurt. And we get 0.8 volts there. Do we get 2 volts here? Oh, sorry, 2.5 volts. We do. Do we get 1.1 volts here on the south bridge? We do. Do we get 1.37 volts on the RAM? We do. Okay, and do we get 5 volts here? We do. Okay, so that means then that we get all of the test rails on this side of the board. So this is going to be a little bit more difficult to figure out than normal because the test rails are present. So I'm going to move the heatsink out the way and the power supply as well. And let's go under the microscope and see if there's anything obvious, shall we? Right, so with a beep on beep off, which is what we commonly call it, the first thing that we check is the liquid metal situation. As many of you will know, the liquid metal is an issue on these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel this back. And I'm going to look for any liquid metal which might have seeped out and maybe got underneath this seal here. It looks like it might not have done. Okay. There we go. So yeah, it looks like no liquid metal has got underneath here. I am going to just double check with the tweezers though first, because someone could have worked on this and I could have cleaned it up, or at least to what the eye can see. So yeah, let's have a look underneath the seal and just see what's going on. So I'm just going to peel back this seal slightly. Just need to get underneath it without damaging the APU. But I wouldn't expect the liquid metal to have got under here because it doesn't look like the seal's been damaged. Yeah, I'm fairly confident that no liquid metal has gone under there. I'm more than happy with how that looks. I'm not, because that would have been a nice easy fix, wouldn't it? Never mind. Okay, well, on to the next part then. So the next thing I would do is look for any shorts on the board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my multimeter into continuity mode. So if I pop one probe on a ground point, I'm just going to use one of these ground points just here. Let's use a crocodile clip, that's fine. And if I touch any other ground, it'll beep. So if I touch ground there, that beeps. So basically, if we've got a capacitor or something on a circuit which is shorted to ground, what that would do is it would beep and tell me that there's a short there and obviously that it needs dealing with. So I'm going to scan around the board, see if I can find anything out of the ordinary, and yeah, I'll probably fast forward through this depending on how long it takes. Yep, I'm getting normal readings on all of those. Alright, well, I guess it's just down to guesswork now. Yeah, that sucks. So, to be honest with you, I don't really know where else to go from here because everything tests normal. So, that tells me that we've got either an issue with one of the BGAs, which is, you know, one of these big chips, like this one, one of these ones, the RAM, something like that. I can possibly use the thermal camera and just see if anything sticks out, you know, something that don't turn on or something like that. But other than that, I don't really know. That's going to make for a pretty boring video. The problem is when everything shows up without having UART access, we really don't know what could be wrong. And it is pretty much just guesswork. I mean, it could be the RAM, it could be the APU, it could be the SSD, it could be the Wi-Fi chip, it could be the encoder. I mean, stuff like the Wi-Fi chip, the Southbridge, the encoder, I can change. But is it really worth it? Is it really worth sitting there guessing for the next hour? You know, changing chips blindly for the next hour to try and figure it out when we don't really know. You know, I don't have a clue whether or not it's going to fix the issues. I mean, all of those chips I've just mentioned, the Southbridge encoder, the Wi-Fi IC, the SSD controller, they're all known to cause this particular issue, but the problem is, which one? You can sit there playing eeny, meeny, miny, mo, all you like. My battery is, of course, dead on my thermal cam, because why wouldn't it be when I want to use it? Okay, let's just have a look and see if there's anything I can see. So, nothing's popping up out of the ordinary immediately. We've got, no, that's residual heat. Yeah, I think that's all just reflections. Yeah, it's reflections, that is. So let's see, when I turn it on, do we get anything at all? Is that even turning on now? Yeah, it is. Wow, nothing lights up. That does though, just there. The SSD controller partially turns on, but nowhere near the temperature I would expect. These MOSFETs are not turning on by the look of it. The APU actually does appear as though it might be. The Southbridge don't appear to be either. So I would expect the Southbridge, which is just behind here, to turn on and get warm. Ah, it is. Very, very slightly. But it's not sustaining power for nowhere near long enough. The one thing I could do, I could inject some voltage rails. So if I've got essentially, well, I've got 4 power supplies basically. I don't have enough probes to be able to use all 4 power supplies, but what I can do is if I use a couple of the bench power supplies, then I can fire up a couple of rails. So I could fire up, for example, the 5-volt rail. If I use one supply here, and I could use these cables off my multimeter. Ow, that's stuck in my freaking hand, that hurt. And I can fire up the 3.3 volt supply and just see if we get anything. So there's a couple of ground points. And on this one I've got 5 volts, and on this one I've got 3.3. So let's light up the let's light up the 5-volt rail and the 3.3. And we get nothing on either of them. Nothing on either of them. Yeah, we get absolutely no current draw at all from them, which is very odd. I can switch that to 2.5 volts, and I do get a current draw on that one of 0.039 amps. On the 2.5 volt rail. I do get a little bit of current, 0.07 amps on this 5-volt rail down here. 0.039 amps on the 1.1 volt rail. Nothing on the 1.8 volt rail. Yeah, it's not doing anything. Nothing is turning on. I honestly don't know what to think here. Light up the RAM. 200 milliamps of current draw on the RAM at 1.37 volts. But no signs of activity. Hmm. 0.04 amps on the 0.8 volt rail. And again, absolutely nothing. There's nothing at all happening on this board. It just seems completely and utterly dead. That could be APU or Southbridge related, to be honest. But I don't think it's worth continuing with it. So, honestly, I just don't have a clue what is wrong with this board. There just does not seem to be any sign of life at all for it. Nothing's really getting warm, which means it's not staying on anywhere near long enough to fire any of the rails up properly. So it's not staying on long enough to turn on the SSD controller, the APU, the RAM, all of the main, the primary chips. It's not staying on long enough to turn them on. And I just don't know what that could be. The voltage rails are there, they're just not working. Or they're just not, nothing's actually firing up. So I just don't know what's wrong with this board. I'm going to be completely honest. It's okay not to know. Maybe I'll revisit it if I come across it in the future, and if I can figure out what's wrong with it in the future, then maybe I'll revisit it, but probably not. It's probably just going to be a lost cause. We can't fix every single board, and that's the entire point of this, is just to show that yes, we can't fix everyone, but sometimes they are fixable for someone, even if they're not fixable for someone else. There are lots of usable parts on this board, but obviously for continuity's sake, I'm going to be putting these videos out there anyway, because I'm doing a series on every single video. So if you did enjoy the video, let me know what you think down in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And if you do want to organise a repair, I promise I'll do my best to try and repair it. I've spent an hour on this board. I don't want to spend much more time than that because of the fact that they are just donor boards after all. So I would normally spend more time on, you know, a normal repair. I'd normally spend at least an hour and a half to 2 hours on it, but I've gone through all of the voltage rails, I've checked it with a thermal camera, I've checked all the fuses, checked all the MOSFETs in diode mode. I just can't find anything out of the ordinary. So yeah, with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye for now.